What's going on, everybody? Today we're going to be talking about, again, angles that have to do with two parallel lines that were cut by a transversal. Today we're going to be talking about the Corresponding Angles Theorem and the Alternate Exterior Angles Theorem as well. So let's go ahead and let's get started. Again, in case you forgot, this is what we're really talking about. We're talking about two parallel lines cut by another line. So now we're going to address the Corresponding Angles Theorem, which states that corresponding angles, again, these are angles that are on the same sort of location with respect to each other. So normally we have four angles up here and four angles down here labeled. Well, my two top left angles, these are what we call corresponding angles. These two angles would be corresponding. These two angles would be corresponding. And these two angles would be corresponding. Okay. The corresponding angle theorem states that these two angles are congruent, meaning that they have the exact same angle measurement. So, how do I use something like this? Well, often at times, they'll tell me something like, hey, angle 1 measures 110 degrees. So if the measurement of angle 1 is equal to 110 degrees, then by the corresponding angles theorem, by the corresponding angles theorem, I could state that the measurement of angle 2 also has to be 110 degrees. And it's not just limited to these two angles, it's limited to every other corresponding angles. Okay. Oh, that looks like 1100. But it's actually 110 degrees, 110 degrees. Okay? And that's how we use the corresponding angles theorem. Now, the other angle theorem that we're going to talk about is the alternate exterior angles theorem. The alternate exterior angles theorem states that angles that are on opposite sides of our transversal, again, this is what the word alternate usually means. We're talking about words that are on opposite sides of this line right here. That's what the word alternate generally means. Exterior usually means that we're talking about angles that are on the outside of our parallel lines. Okay, these would be interior, these would be exterior. Okay, so for our angles that are on opposite sides and on the outside of our parallel lines, these angles, the alternate exterior angles theorem states that these angles are also congruent, meaning they also have the same measurement. So once again, let's say this time, let's say this angle, they tell me it's, let's say they say that the measurement of angle 1 is 120 degrees, meaning that this angle is 120, okay? If they were to tell me that, then I could say something like by the alternate exterior angles theorem, that the measurement of angle 2 also has to be 120 degrees. Now, that would also be true for these alternate exterior angles here highlighted in blue. These two angles would equal each other as well. Okay, and if we wanted to get into it, these would actually be 60 degrees. Okay. But that's not important. It's the main idea is that these two angles, these pairs of angles, are congruent and equal to each other. And like I said on the last one, there's more than one angle, corresponding angles. Each angle has its corresponding angles. So here in the blue, these corresponding angles would be equal to each other. Also here in orange, these angles correspond to each other and would be equal to each other. And in the green, finally. Okay, so we have four pairs of corresponding angles that we can all say those are equal to each other. And then we also learned alternate exterior angles are also equal to each other. So hopefully now you have a better understanding of what these theorems are and how we use them in a simple way. Most of the time, these theorems are really just stating, hey, these two angles are equal to each other. But it's really important to know which two angles we're talking about. And a lot of times we get those through the title, alternate exterior or corresponding. So make sure you're pretty savvy on what those words are. But as always, I just want to thank you guys for watching. Hopefully you tune into these next videos. The next ones, eventually in the future, we're going to get into geometry problems where we involve these theorems in certain proofs. They help us with triangles and parallel lines. So stay tuned for those, and I'll see you guys next time.